What's going on, everybody? What's going on? This is Kenny, and if you're on YouTube, you can see someone right next to me who's not usually here. My guy Serenity is here, CCL runner-up, unfortunately, but one hell of a showing he showed us. This is episode 13 of the show, the podcast, and I'm really, really happy to be joined by Serenity. What's going on, man?
Hey, not much, man. Yeah, unfortunate we came up short, but hey, it was a blast. It was a great series. So I hope everyone enjoyed it.
I will say, selfishly, when me and you locked down that you were going to be on here, I was rooting for you to win the whole time because I was like, yes, let's get the CCL winner on the pod. But the
Would have been
runner-up, I
great,
mean,
wouldn't it?
you know, Movie may have gotten the best of you in that series. In those last two games, I think even you were maybe a little surprised at how much he adjusted from that first game. But dude, you were hitting the cover off the ball the entire season.
Yeah.
I guess the logical place to start is take me from the high of game one when you just were shitting on every pitch to game 2 and 3, which were a little more of a struggle for you.
Yeah, so game one, I think the thing I kind of let go of was the fact that Movie used his worst pitchers in game one. He didn't use anybody too good. He didn't use like Wagner, Gagne, Sale, and everyone else you say for game 2 or 3. And I was able, because of that, I was able to just score so many runs. And PCI obviously was bigger and yada yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, going into game 2, I was so confident, but I also was aware because he picks Kauffman Stadium because, in a real super competitive format, like, yeah, there's money on the line, but we're also trying to have fun, So picking stadiums like Ship It for the entire series that everybody sees all year is kind of lame, personally. And yeah, it would be fun because I think me and Movie would put up like 40 runs and shit. I think it's just cool to be in like an actual MLB environment because this is how real life has been going. But that's kind of sidetracking. Kauffman is probably one of the worst stadiums to play in
Oh,
MLB.
it's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah, because everything just dies. Like Rogers Center, like it actually played surprisingly well for me the entire season, which is why I kept going to it. But Kauffman Stadium, I was aware because I watched Movie and Healy series because in game 3, Healy had a lot of balls die at the warning track that probably because he scored, I think Movie scored 5 to 6 runs later in the game that kind of just put Healy out of it. And, that on top of everything is dying, it's like a huge confidence destroyer. And I kind of knew that going into the game, but I did not think I was going to only score 2 runs off of 40 pitches of Eric Gagne. That is basically what I, got in my head the entire game. And I ended up scoring like 6 or 7 runs in the latter half of the game, which made it close, which is why I was still confident going into game 3. But losing by 1 run in game 2 really, really hurt because obviously what happened in game 3. But I just think at that point I knew I was upset with myself because I knew I could hit better, but I was also because I was aware of it and aware of what I did wrong. But I think just carrying it over and to game 3, and then there's so much pressure on the line. And I mean, I think people there also in the chat flowing, every second is also like nerve wracking.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna use it as an excuse, but I've never had like a concurrent 1.7 thousand people in my chat, which I think
the chat was popping that night.
Yeah, the chat was flying, and there was a bunch of trolls and whatnot, and that's normal. But I definitely think that might have affected me a little bit game 3 because I was so nervous. I was so tense, and every little mistake I would do, I would just comment on it, and I couldn't do that. And I think another factor of me being nervous was I was late on half the fastballs I saw.
Yeah.
When that is usually not the case, but it wasn't like game 2 where I was late and not on it. I was on every pitch, but I was late. And I think that I mean if I get like just half of those swings to be good lates, maybe it's probably a whole different ball game and whatnot. But I think I also made some decisions that pitching wise that kind of killed me. But hey, it is what it is, man. Like me and Movie have been great friends for I think 4 years now. And I wouldn't have been mad at all if he won. And he did. He did. You know, like
Hmm.
it's great. You know.
I will say, I thought his bullpen game strategy was really well executed.
Yeah.
Um, not only is he trotting Eric Gagne and 99 Billy Wagner out there, he's running them into the ground. And
Yeah.
I mean, see, you and I are on a very different level as far as gameplay goes. If I score 2 runs off Gagne in 40 pitches, I'm celebrating because Gagne and Wagner, whether it's 94 Wagner or 99 Wagner, doesn't matter. Their deliveries throw me off more than their pitches.
Mhm.
I just think there's something about the way they release the ball that throws me off. And then with Gagne, you're going to go from 98, 99 to that 68 mile an hour roller. And if you're sitting fastball, you're screwed on that pitch.
Mhm.
Um, I guess specifically when it comes to pitchers like that, are you more focused on pitch speed, or are you focused on, like, as a hitter, are you trying to time it up, or are you just trying to follow the ball? Like, how do you go about that?
Uh, so for the most part, when I'm hitting, I try to just look at the release point and then kind of just immediately react that way. So at least for game three, this is kind of like a good point because for some reason this year, I have not performed well ever against Chris Sale, and no one
Mm-hmm.
really uses him because he's so expensive and whatnot. And Movie loves him. Movie can locate any pitch, like in the
It
game.
was unreal.
Yeah,
He was
it was
dotting everything.
unreal. Like
Yeah.
and I commented on it multiple times because I was just amazed. Like even after giving up a really hard hit or like a 4 pitch walk or something like that, which happened multiple times, he just immediately went back to dotting that outside corner with a fastball, like not like barely inside. No, it was right on the black.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just shocked because I sat for 4 hours before the game in custom practice against Chris Sale. I modified him everything to be what the 99 Chris Sale was, and I sat there for 4 hours, and I thought I had a perfect game plan because Chris Sale has this little funky motion, right, where he comes from the side,
Yep.
kind of,
And he
and
steps almost toward first base more, so it's coming like a whip across.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was watching when because I noticed I struggled with like lefties like Babe Ruth and Yelich when he had that sidearm because it was coming from the side where it looks like it's almost gonna hit him,
Mm-hmm.
but it's going inside. So I figured because I usually look at like the release point or to the like upper right, I guess, area of the strike zone would be where a lefty is. But I was just looking at the entire side of the strike zone. So like the black,
Yeah.
because that is where his release point was. And then it would go either to the left or it would go in. And I thought I had the perfect strategy like that, but I mean, I kind of did. I was just late on everything, like I said prior, but I mean, Chris Sale is tough. I mean, everything he did after game one was just flawless execution. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you couldn't have asked for any better pitching against a guy like me, you know. Like I put up a 447 average in the regular season and just to shut me down like that and like 8 runs and 5 runs in game two and game three may not seem like shutting down, but I mean, if you ask anybody else in the league, they probably say the same thing. That movie just flawlessly executed everything after that.
I will say I was so impressed with Chris Sale, the way he used him. Obviously, like you said, you practice for hours and hours and hours. You know the zone. It's not new to you. And he is throwing, I feel like every single right-hander, the first pitch of the at-bat was the same fastball in the same spot away. And you took it
Mm-hmm.
almost every time because it looked outside, but it was the most perfect pitch on the black.
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't say any better. That's exactly what I thought in the box, and he just dotted my soul away.
um, I mean, yeah, and 8 runs and 5 runs, like you said, it doesn't seem like shutting down. But I also think you have to look at hit totals. There were games
Hmm.
when you were dropping at least 15 plus hits with regularity, and I think that was more indicative of how well he was pitching because you weren't just stringing together multiple hits an inning. You had to get one on and hit it over the wall. It was
Hmm.
very different.
Exactly. Uh, Speaking of like situations where movie I think flawlessly executed, um, it was I forget what inning it was. I think it was the bottom of the seventh or the eighth of game three, and I had the bases loaded with Tatis up at the plate. I couldn't have asked for a better at bat. He had Prestige. I think it was Prestige make. Oh, no, sorry, Prestige Mo in,
Hmm.
and I mean I've seen Mo well. Like Mo has been like one of those high relievers that I mean I usually hit really well. Like in game two, I scored 3 to 4 runs off of Mo when he came in
Yeah, you
out of
had
the
his number when he
bullpen.
came in that game. Yeah.
Yeah, and I missed. I think it was either strike one or strike two where he made a mistake and I missed it. It was a cutter, I think, right down the middle,
Hmm.
and I was a berry below it, and I was kind of early. I think, if I remember correctly, I could go back and watch, but I don't want to do that to myself. uh, but I think it ended up the final count ended up being like 2-2 or 3-2, and he just threw the more I think the best cutter in that situation. I don't think anyone's ever thrown, and it was just right on the outside, a little bit outside to where it probably would have been a ball, but just enough inside to where you probably have to swing at it because
Yeah.
it might be a strike. And he I have nothing to say to that. I mean, I had the swing and
Hmm.
I swung right through it. And I think if you go back and you see my reaction and in the chat as well. I mean, everyone's like, "Wow, what a pitch!" And I mean, that's just what movie does, man. I had no answer for that.
When it comes to the CCL as a whole, I know you guys, at least early on, worked through several iterations of the lineup building rules.
Mhm.
It was trial and error. It was the first time anyone had ever done something like this with SDS on this scale.
Mhm.
So, with the way the rosters ended up constructing themselves, with the overall cap that was in place, and everyone had to be at least a silver, what was your strategy for putting this together and staying within, what was it, 90 overall, I think was the threshold?
Yeah.
So, how did you guys, or how did you specifically kind of, navigate that?
For me, I tried to play to my strengths. So naturally, I built I tried to put the best players on offense I could, while also like having some low overall guys in there, and also having a decent pitching staff to where I can maybe give up like 6 to 8 runs to these guys, and out hit them and score them and win still. That was my strategy for the regular season. And then when the postseason came, I changed my strategy up a bit because I think in the regular season I had 2 diamond starters and 3 golds, and then I had I think 2 diamond relievers, 2 golds, and like 2 silver, no, 3 golds and 2 silvers.
Mhm.
I changed my strategy up a bit because I knew I had like this is like we're not playing for money. All of us aren't playing for money, but that is what's at stake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stake. That's, wait, state, skate. I don't know
Steak.
English. Yeah,
I
English. I
got you. You're
suck.
good.
uh, that's what's on the line, pretty much. And I mean, for me, winning money means a lot more than probably everyone else in the league because they're all a lot older than me, and I'm only 17 and whatnot. So I think it'd be cool to go for the prize. And obviously, not everyone. We actually didn't know about the championship belt until the semifinals, and
It's a
that's
good looking belt.
yeah, that's a
Yeah.
beauty. I can't wait to see movie rock that in its setup. But that would have been cool to win. But uh, I changed my strategy a bit because I knew my pitching sucked. I mean, it showed. And my stats I had a 9.73 ERA. I
Yeah, but scoring
sucked.
15, 16 runs a game, so
Yeah,
it was fine.
exactly. Yeah, I outscored everybody by 30 runs, but I also gave up 129 runs or something like that.
Yeah.
But so I knew I had to get at least a little better on the pitching side because from here on out, all 8 teams could hit. I mean, there's no denying that. So I had to put my best pitcher all year. I had Gold Hershiser in. I put in the Prestige Hershiser. I had Leiter up until the World Series. I also had Paxton up until the World Series. And some of them worked out, some of them didn't. Like Al Leiter has been my best pitcher all year in like normal DD, but when I used him in the custom league, he was getting destroyed. So I had to take him out. And my whole strategy in the World Series was kind of different because Movie had 8 righties, and that is not something you usually see.
No, never.
Uh,
Well, not. I hit better with lefties in general for some reason. I don't know why. So I would never have that in my lineup.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird. You don't usually, especially like a guy of Movie's caliber, you don't usually see 8 righties in a row. Like because you usually think that's a disadvantage, but most of those guys had better splits against righties,
Hmm.
and they still also had good splits against lefties. So Movie just kind of played for swing, and he had guys like Trey Mancini. Even he had the live series Mancini in there until I think around the semifinals or the World Series, where then he used the face of the franchise. He destroyed with that Mancini. He had live series Teoscar Hernandez, who he just destroyed with. He had um, Hornsby, who was a horrible defender but an amazing hitter for him. And then he also had live series Gary Sanchez in there for a bit, who has
Hmm.
like 30 contact. And now he also told, I think he told me that he had those guys in there like Sano and Sanchez who had such low contact before. so that when he would go to like the higher contact guys for later on, he'd have like more accuracy in the, for the PCI.
I guess
Which
it's kind of like the same strategy as like using a donut on a baseball bat. You
yeah,
change the weight and you get accustomed to the speed. That makes some sense. I never would have thought of it that way.
yeah, and I actually didn't think about that, and I thought that was a really good strategy. But and in the end, you don't just go with like the whole meta of like having a good lineup, because that's what kind of what I try to do. I try to have multiple switch hitters, lefties, and righties, to where I could have a lineup construction where in an inning I wouldn't have a disadvantage in any at bat, or maybe only one at bat.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I had, I think it was Yelich, Grandal. No, it was, how did the order go? Hold on. I wanna, I wanna find this because I want to make sure I get the point across. Um, here it is. Okay, so I had and I had Babe Ruth, Tatis, Grandal. Uh, Even though Tatis has like worse splits against lefties, he can still, obviously, you have the favor in there that matchup because you can see the ball better.
Yeah.
And then even if you brought in a lefty for Babe Ruth, Ruth destroys lefties as well. But if he ended up going to the 1-2-3, Grandal has better splits against lefties. So it's kind of just like a flip flop. That's kind of what I try to do. And it's also the same case in Game 3 in the lower half of my lineup. I had Yelich, Santana, Edwin. Yelich is obviously a lefty. Santana is a switch hitter who hits lefties better, and then Edwin hits both sides pretty well. So like I mean, it worked for the entirety of the season, but whatever move it did worked.
So CCL moving forward, I think this was a massive success, both for you guys as content creators. Viewers on Twitch were getting packs from it, which might initially have been why they tuned in, but I think they really got invested. At least I know I got very invested in it. So that got people very interested in the game. Moving forward, again, as someone who obviously did not play in the CCL, I think we should preface it with this. I think the DH is the best thing in the world in real baseball. I think it should be universal.
Mm-hmm.
I think for a league like this, because you have a bench that ends up being non-existent, like you hardly ever go to your bench, I think pitchers should hit in the CCL.
That's fair.
Do you agree, disagree? I mean, your bench was never used, really. So what was the point of having it there? They were just placeholders to bring your overall down. I don't know. What do you think?
That's definitely very fair, because I think you could definitely have a more thought out roster when you do that, and more strategy involved, because I mean, let's face it. I mean, that's kind of the same case in real life to some extent.
Yeah.
It just ends up being, when you're watching in real life, you don't find any fun in watching a pitcher hit than you do a DH, because offense, But I believe we voted on like rules before we started, and what everyone thought and what the majority wanted to do. And I believe I forgot what I did. I think I voted for DH just because my whole thought process was, let's bring everybody the offense. Let's see, let's make a show out of every game, because you just want to have a blast, and maybe put up like scores like me and Yayo put up. I scored 26 runs and he scored 15 and he lost. So
the wild games. I mean, so you hit the cover off the ball, and Yayo is probably number 2 or 3 as far as guys who rake. So,
and yeah, that's basically why I like the DH strategy. But going forward, I think if we get more people involved, and because I know everyone in the league wants to do that. But obviously there's complications and small little things that goes into every decision that business people do. I think the perfect way to do it would be to do it in the beginning of the year next year, as soon as 21 comes out, or well, maybe not as soon as 21 comes out, like maybe like a month or two into the game, so people get cards and whatnot, like maybe 2-3 months, because we started around, I think, August, which is honestly is not bad timing. Maybe like May or June would be too early. Like maybe like the same thing, like July, August. Because kind of what I was thinking is, like, earlier in the game cycle, a lot more people were probably tuning in. We had a lot of people tune in for it being in October. So I mean, I could not imagine what the amount of people we would see watch the CCL as a whole in like May or June.
Yeah, I mean, starting it when they did obviously lined up with that postseason feel in October. But at the same time, you're now asking viewers to pick between the actual baseball games and then your games on Twitch. So there might have been some people lost to that.
Yeah. Like I know I saw some comments every now and then be like, why can't you do this like at a different time? Like game seven's on or like game six is on. Like, even like basketball terms, like like with the way this year went, obviously it'd be different, like, normal season, but the finals were played really late in the year this year, and that
Mm-hmm.
was during I think the semifinals, and there was like people saying like, why can't you do this? Game six is on, game five is on, like. I mean, I definitely feel for that. As a viewer of, baseball and sports in general, like I want to watch those games. Like it's the championship, but it's kind of hard to schedule around it, especially when you have 15 other people, and we had to schedule like 2 to 3 games a week, and we had to make schedules line up, and it's kind of hard. And
Yeah.
to that point, it'd also be really hard and probably a lot longer of a season if we had to have like if we added more people, like even just a group of people, not like all 30 teams, it would probably take months because uh, the process is just like it's like in theory it's kind of easy because you just talk to your people and we just schedule with everybody individually, but it's kind of rough, especially like I was going back into school in September, and then everyone else has families and whatnot, so that's kind of a thing that needs to be tweaked out a bit. But
Mm-hmm. And as far as the way custom leagues play compared to online play, I know is far different. Everyone was saying it plays a lot smoother. It's a little more intuitive. I know pitcher energy is an entirely different animal. It never goes away. It feels like, and
Mhm.
that's why Billy Wagner's able to go 5 innings or whatever it was against you.
Yeah.
Um, but as far as the custom league difference, does that put away some of the issues that the game has had? Like when we play online, you can complain about little things almost
Mhm.
every game. Just you know, late hits or plays at the wall, base running, things like that. Were those eliminated in the custom league format or not really?
I mean, I think there's definitely a noticeable difference. Like, first of all, hitting is just way more rewarding. Obviously you can tell from like certain games, like me and Yayo's game, and practically every game, because most of the games in the playoffs were played in MLB stadiums, and if those games if we played in DD, I could probably assure you that the scores would not be the same because it would probably be way worse to play. Just, I mean, maybe just a lot more issues. I mean, no, you don't really know that uh, until you do it. But like small issues like fielding and whatnot were still kind of there at times. But hitting, I think the main thing, hitting as a whole was just so much more rewarding because I believe custom leagues isn't really affected by patches too much,
Okay.
like at least hitting terms. I may not know exactly because it's not a thing I'm 100% sure of, but that's just what everyone says. Like
Mm-hmm.
the hit custom league is just, and you can kind of believe it just based off how it plays. Because I think in one game, I mean, obviously, it's still the Yayo game. It's a good reference point for hitting. Babe Ruth went 5 for 6 and had 4 homers, and I think 2 of those homers were balls like so far to the left side of the zone, pulled early because we were playing in ship it. But like it just tells you just how much more rewarding the mode is as a whole compared to online. Because I guarantee that same type of swing, it may go out, because early is great this year.
Yeah.
Uh, but it probably doesn't. It's a thing that's kind of hard to test until you get the same exact situation and same exact what's the word teams and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of tough, but as a whole, custom leagues definitely play way better than online. I can definitely say that.
Because of that, do you think? I thought Hall of Fame was the appropriate difficulty to play on, but because it plays smoother, do you think Legend would have also gone okay, or is Hall of Fame the play?
I think Legend may have been a bit too difficult for most in the league. I've actually played a lot on Legend this year in Diamond Dynasty, so I personally would not have had a problem with it. But we had some people who don't actually play a whole like hardcore Diamond Dynasty like everyone else does this
Mm-hmm.
year, and because Finn for the win is mostly a franchise guy. I know Ashley, it was her first year ever playing. It was her first year getting into Diamond Dynasty and whatnot, and
Hmm.
she did great. I mean,
Yeah, I thought it was awesome that she
obviously,
was included. I thought it was
yeah,
great.
like she was super positive about everything. She was just a joy to watch, and she put up, she had some really good competitive games. Like she's had like 10, 11 hits against me, and I think she only scored two, like 1 to 3 runs, which it's getting them in, driving them in. But she had hits, and I think a lot of people, it kind of sucked because everyone received hate, but everyone just looked at her record and was like, "Oh my gosh, he sucks." But she did great, man. She did great for her first year playing, and she had really competitive games. I think she held Movie to 3 runs or something like that, if I remember correctly, and that's really impressive. I mean, I don't know about you, but I think she did a great job.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously I've never interacted with her, so I don't know. I know she's a mega fan of baseball, so I think
Yeah,
that's great. But I also, I mean this in the nicest way possible. She stepped into an unwinnable situation, but fought her ass off and proved, even though, like you said, the record wasn't great, she belonged in that league. Like she did
exactly.
everything. Were there people who got left out of the league? Of course. Do we know why maybe some of them got out of the league? Who's to say? I
Hmm.
know there are certainly reasons. SDS does things on purpose. They don't just forget people.
Yeah,
Um,
they don't.
and I think part of the reason that people like Ashley unfortunately got some of that backlash was because Ashley is not one of those people who got left out.
Yeah,
So it's not fair to her at all. But I
no.
think she had the correct attitude, and I think she played as well as she could. And like you said, she had some. I don't know if surprises are the right way to put it because that shortchanges her, but
Hmm.
she opened some eyes.
Yeah, she definitely did, and she's played a lot of Diamond Dynasty this year, and she's grown herself as a channel, as a whole hit partnership and whatnot, and has a lot of eyes on her, and she's done a great job this year as a whole. I can't say more positive things about her.
And talking about some other people in the league, I know you have interacted with at least most of them just before this league even started. But have you maybe gotten closer to some of these people who you didn't really interact with prior to the league starting?
Yeah, for sure. I knew pretty much everybody in the league, uh, and I will say the only couple people I didn't have so many exchanges with prior, or haven't talked to a lot, I guess is probably the proper words to say, were Finn, Ashley, and Ransom. But
Mm-hmm.
over time, we've been in each other's chats and had a lot of great communications and conversations. So, um, I think having more people would just make it even better. Bring a lot more people close together, and everyone else, like Shelfie, Cougs, Healy, Twin, Movie, Paul, Scuffy, etc. Yayo. Uh, I might have missed a name or two there, but um, we've all been friends for well over a couple years now. And because I remember, meeting Shelfie and Cougs in the show 16 when they both had like less than 10,000 subs and whatnot. And it's crazy, man. Just being a part of a league where you consider pretty much everyone friends, and just having a blast and just putting up a show, and it's great, man. It was great.
And that's going to conclude our CCL portion of the show. We're going to talk a little more with Serenity about just personal stuff, not crazy personal stuff, but more like his likes. I know he's a big Mariners guy, things like that. But before we do, we're going to hear from our friends of the show at Thrive Fantasy. Very excited, as always, to be working with Thrive Fantasy. It's a daily fantasy sports app based on player props. By the way, we're recording on a Sunday for NFL season. I played today, not making money currently, so make better decisions than I do. But Thrive Fantasy has eliminated the need to do countless hours of research like other DFS apps because it only asks you about the top tier athletes in a respective sport. To play MLB games, you got the World Series coming up, so you can still play MLB games. But right now, more importantly, NFL games on Thrive Fantasy. Choose 5 out of the 10 player prop options to build your lineup. Each prop has a fantasy point total associated with the over or under based on how likely it is to occur. The more points a selection is worth, the riskier it is. Rack up the most points possible to win a share of the prize pool. If you're looking to play games and win some money, use promo code TheShowThePod when you sign up for Thrive Fantasy today, and you will receive an instant bonus of up to $50. Thrive Fantasy is matching your initial deposit of $50 or less. So download Thrive Fantasy on the App Store or Play Store, or by going online to www.thrivefantasy.com. Sign up and prop up today. Um, yeah, so like I said, I've been not winning money in NFL. So just make better decisions than I do. It's amazing how smart the people at Vegas are. They know the over
Right?
unders. Like it's unreal. Um, but back to why we're here today. So you mentioned before you're 17, man, and
Mhm.
you're one of the best in the world at this game, obviously. And you're balancing being a high school senior, which is not easy in general, and now it's COVID, so
Mhm.
everything's different for you. I guess what has it been like balancing Twitch, CCL, MLB The Show, all these things with still focusing on the very important schoolwork that obviously that you're doing?
I mean, with the way it is this year, it's been kind of stressful. I'm not gonna lie, uh, because at least to me, I don't know if anyone watching who is also in school currently feels the same way, but it's online. It feels like you're not really learning anything, at least to me, and it feels like I'm just turning in work and just to do it, and sometimes I just lose interest doing that. So it's been kind of hard to keep up with the amount of work I have had due to and streaming and the CCL, and I've already put a stream or two just aside the past 2 weeks to work on schoolwork and whatnot, and I'm still have some things to catch up on, and actually I honestly don't know if I'm gonna be streaming today because of that. So I mean, obviously priorities are school first, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to because like in streaming, it's kind of hard because streaming, um, I think it's different. It's a lot different in YouTube. You're a little bit more flexible to miss a day or two, while you're trying to grow and just have fun and have a consistent platform. But it's also just you just want to avoid that obviously at all costs because it could hurt you. But I think okay is you usually like days that take off for me are usually like uh ESL days because I know they're doing their whole ESL qualifiers today
Yeah.
and yesterday, and there's also like baseball going on and family stuff. Because I don't just take off because school is more important. But I kind of sidetracked a bit. But let me get back to the main question.
No, you're
School and
no, you're doing great. Keep talking.
school as a whole has been really interesting this year because obviously it's all online and
Mm-hmm.
um, having the camera on sometimes like people's like, what the heck is this? Like how do you have this? Like what is this? You're just a kid. And some like have teachers losing connection and power outages and like Wi-Fi is going out and teachers being clueless to because like my teachers in my school, they hate the fact that like they're doing online school. They hate it. And I feel like that affects some of their teaching like points and
Yeah.
every day and whatnot. But
Yeah, they're not as enthused about it, so they're not giving it
no,
maybe that full effort.
no, yeah, and obviously that adds to the point of like it doesn't feel like you're learning anything because they're not trying as hard or whatnot. I mean, most of them are probably trying a lot, but in the end, it really just like feels like, especially because like the last year, it's the last stretch, for
Mm-hmm.
me until potential college and whatnot, yada yada yada. But of year 1 through 12, it's the final year of that for me, and in June I graduate, which is kind of weird to think about. Um, but it just hurts, like I want to pass. And it's been quite difficult because they don't even know when we would even go back in person, and I don't even know if I would go back in person because I'm a type 1 diabetic. So like I mean I'm at high risk and my entire family's at high risk, so like I'm trying to keep my family safe and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of rough, but
Yeah,
I'll
I could only
get through
imagine. I'm I'm 27, so I don't have to.
it.
I've just been dealing with work stuff, which
Mhm.
I can work from my laptop, whether it's in the office or here. It doesn't really affect my day that much. But my brother is graduating college actually in December, and he
Mhm.
just found out a couple weeks ago that it will not be a live ceremony. He goes to school in South Carolina, so it was a little different as
Mhm.
far as COVID strategies and stuff. So I feel bad for him. Like he doesn't get that. He worked hard for his degree,
Yeah,
and he doesn't get his graduation. So it kind of sucks. And you're in a similar situation.
yeah, I don't even know. They have not said anything about, at least yet, of how they're even gonna do it. If they're because I think last year they did in 4 months ago for the prior class, I think they did like an online thing, but you could also go to the school and take a picture or something. I don't even know what they didn't even explain it properly, and it would suck for sure. to not have a ceremony and whatnot, but I'm still getting the gown. Like to me, I'm still getting the gown and whatnot. And I feel like it would hurt a lot more if it was like, college, like
Mhm.
you just said, your the other situation. I feel like because like that's way harder. That like I feel that's way more stressful and way harder.
I
I
mean,
mean,
let's. He's going for phys ed. It wasn't that hard, but yes,
well,
you're right.
you know what I mean.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
I know what you mean.
yeah. uh, I mean, maybe I shouldn't feel that way. I should maybe feel a lot, more excited about it. But I think I just want to like at this point it's so like scuffed that I just want to get it over with. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's I don't know. It's rough.
What
It's rough.
does college look like for you? Have you given it thought? Like obviously that now theoretically would impact streaming, would impact content creation. I
Mhm.
mean, that's stuff that's still months away, but I mean, you got to start applying to schools, I'm
Oh,
sure, if you haven't
obviously,
already.
yeah.
Yeah, so what are you thinking? What's going on with that?
Well, my whole like thought process has been I at least as of right now. I mean, obviously things can change in what 8 months. I wanted to because I've seen this year has been incredible for me on here, like on the
Hmm.
platform. I couldn't have asked for anything, more than what I've gotten this year. I've gained 8,000 followers on Twitch, 3,000 on Twitter, and I've hit Twitch partnership, which I couldn't imagine it would have ever happened this year.
Hmm.
That was one of my goals for the end of the cycle, like by March, and I got it in September, which is just crazy to me. Obviously there's been things that have been helping and whatnot, and being in the CCL was a big part of that. But I, it's just like I never thought I would have been where I am right now, and this is a big passion to me. Like this is what I want to do, if I can. Obviously, there's I have that backup plans and whatnot, and I wanted to kind of take a year off of school, especially the way it is right now. Like I don't
Oh,
know
it's
if it's
it's a
gonna
mess
be
right now.
it's a
Yeah,
mess. Yeah, like I
yeah.
don't know if it's gonna be online. I don't know because I definitely want to not want to go in person, especially if it's like to a whole new state or new area of my state I currently I'm in that I've never been before, or and I have to live there, and maybe I don't. Maybe I lose interest to what I'm studying for, like halfway through it, and I drop out. It's just like small little things I worry about that I just don't want to deal with. I think just
Hmm.
going straight out of high school into it. I think that would just put so much stress on me that I would just bundle up into a ball and then cry myself to sleep every night. Uh, so I mean, my main plan basically off of that was to take a year off and kind of see and reevaluate where things are going in 2022. I guess 2022,
Hmm.
and just push what I'm doing on here just full time.
Yeah.
Push it so hard and kind of just see where things go after that and see if hey, maybe this is something I can do for
Mhm.
a living and whatnot, which would be insane. But hey, dude, we got dreams.
I think honestly that's an incredibly reasonable way to look at things. People sometimes, if you say you're going to take a gap year, from the outside, people might criticize you like, "Oh, you're lazy. Oh, you're this. Oh, you're that."
Hmm.
They're wrong. But
Yeah.
also, the current climate gives you the perfect excuse to do that. You're like, "Listen, I'm at high risk. I don't know what the world's going to be like. I don't want to do my first semester or first 2 semesters of college at home
Hmm.
virtually. So I'm just going to wait to see what happens." I think that's a perfect play.
Yeah. That's mainly my main reason. Like if none of this was going on, maybe I consider it more. But I mean, I think it's just the perfect like you say excuse to just push this full time, which is going great right now. Um, to see where things go. I mean,
Mhm.
the sky's the limit, honestly. Like,
Yeah, and you set yourself up to, like you said, you've already been doing so well, even better than you anticipated. You could set yourself up to pay for college with that gap year, or at
yeah,
least, or at
maybe.
least
Like,
come real close. Like that'd be
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I mean that would be crazy, like I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, you never really know. It's just kind of just see where it goes,
Mhm.
you know.
And so, the one more thing I want to talk to you about. You're my third guest. Um, when I talk to Scuffy and I talk to Yayo, obviously big Mets and Red Sox fans. So I like to talk to my guests about their team. So I know you got, is that imagining a Bo Bichette jersey behind you? I know you're a Mariners
Yeah,
guy, but that's Bichette.
yeah.
Um, so you're a Mariners guy, and that's rough. So I'm sorry. I said basically the same thing to Scuffy. Outside of 2015, it's rough to be a Mets fan. Um, so the Mariners have, in real life, I think a relatively exciting core. Obviously, pieces still missing.
hmm
Every team has pieces missing, but like you could build around a Kyle Lewis. You've got players to work around. What do you think of the current state of the team?
I think the current state of the year is, I mean, the team is actually pretty good. Obviously, we missed the playoffs in an expanded playoff year, which I mean isn't great. Obviously, adding on to the playoff drought, but that wasn't the goal this year. The goal was to build off of the young pieces and give them full playing time and see how they did. And you know, the part of the core like Kyle Lewis, he's probably going to win Rookie of the Year. I mean that's mostly because Luis Robert had a really bad
Yeah,
end of
he
the
had
year.
really rough September.
Yeah, really, really bad. I think he had like a point, like not even a .1 average, like
Hmm.
point. It was .0 something, and that is probably why he's going to win Rookie of the Year, just because he was more consistent. But he was great this year, and he was better defensively than he was last year. He robbed a couple homers. He made some diving plays. Um, you also have guys like Marco Gonzalez, who was amazing this year. He led the league in K to walk ratio. I think he had a ERA below 3 almost, and he was just great.
Hmm.
And also guys like Justice Sheffield, who was one of the main pieces we got from New York
My
for
Yankees, yeah.
Paxton. Yeah,
I I am still on the fence about that trade because I have faith that Paxton will not shatter himself every time he toes the rubber. But Justice Sheffield's got some potential, man. I was a little upset to see him go.
yeah, he had a really good year this year. Like he was a little rough last year, obviously, because he played half a season, a little less than half a season coming up in like August or July last year. And he had some shining outings, like against the Cubs, he had like 11 Ks or something. Not, I don't know, it was like 8 Ks in 5 innings or something like that. He was great. And
Hmm.
then he also had outings against the Orioles when he gave up like 6 runs in 3 innings. Like he was rough last year, but he was really good this year. And Justin Dunn was also all right this year. He wasn't amazing, but
Hmm.
he was decent. He showed some promise, and I think that's good. And next year, you also have guys like Mitch Haniger, who's going to be coming back from injury next year, probably starting in right field. You also potentially have Jared Kelnick, our #1 prospect, top
Yep.
10 prospect in the MLB,
Very
coming up next
exciting
year.
prospect, and I
Yep,
mean the outfield prospects in the system are just absurd. I think in
just
3 to 5 years that outfield's going to be top five in baseball.
yeah, I mean, just insane. I mean, next year, I mean, it's probably unlikely to have like a guy like Julio or Taylor Trammell up next year. Maybe Taylor Trammell. Um, but the outfield could be next year Jared Kelenic, Kyle Lewis, and Mitch Haniger. And
It's a
if
pretty damn
Haniger's
good outfield.
yeah, and if
Yeah.
Haniger's healthy, I mean that like he was an all-star player in 2018. He was really good in 2018, and unfortunately he was a little bit hurt because of the injury.
Unfortunate injury.
Yeah, I
Yep.
mean, just
We'll leave it there.
yeah, we won't describe it, but unfortunate injury, but
Yeah.
which led to like back issues and whatnot, which he had this year, which he just couldn't play and didn't want to play, obviously because of COVID and whatnot.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, if that outfield's healthy, I mean, and Kyle Seager, he had a good year last year. Like he's getting paid a lot of money, but he's like that veteran leadership that you want on the team that mentors these young guys like JP Crawford and maybe like a Shed Long or whatnot. I mean, I'm not super confident in like Shed Long because he was pretty bad this year.
Hmm.
But I mean, anything can happen when you're rebuilding, and who knows? I mean, Dipoto wants to go out and get 3 to 4 veteran relievers because he thinks that we could compete next year. Especially, I wouldn't put it past him. I mean, obviously, to the outside fan looking in, like the Mariners competing, like I mean, obviously, it'd be really hard to. But I think with the situation with the AL West, I think it's a prime opportunity to because the A's just fumbled in the playoffs again. They may make some changes. They may not bring some people back. The Angels were really bad this year. They did not perform to expectations because they didn't get pitching. That's why their general manager just got fired. So maybe
Even
that was
even
him.
with Dylan Bundy suddenly becoming Jesus Christ, they
Yeah,
still
like
couldn't pitch.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, still everyone else is horrible, and somehow that trade worked with Dylan Bundy. Like they gave up like 4 prospects for him, and I laughed at that trade, but hey, he shut my mouth.
Yeah.
But
And and the Rangers are still the Rangers.
yeah,
So that's not a threat.
the Rangers were horrible this year.
Oh yeah.
And I honestly, I thought, I mean, obviously part of it lies on the offense really being really bad, but Corey Kluber also got hurt like this first outing of the year.
That would have helped.
The year.
That would have helped at least every 5 days.
Yeah.
So maybe they have 6, 7 more wins. I don't know how much that really moves the needle, but they're still bad.
Yeah, and then they also didn't trade Lance Lynn, which was probably the worst move of the deadline.
Moronic.
Yeah,
Lance Lynn pitched for the Yankees a couple years ago, and when they traded for him, I was like, "What in the hell are you doing? Lance Lynn? Like, come on!" And he kind of rejuvenated himself and suddenly became a decent pitcher.
mm-hmm.
But there's no way someone who only pumps fastballs should be that effective. I feel like his shelf life, like he's right on the edge. I don't know. I mean, he continues to prove people wrong. So
Mm-hmm.
I could very well also be wrong. I just don't have confidence in a guy with that repertoire continuing to pitch well.
That's definitely fair. I mean, that's also more of a reason to get
trade him
out of there.
Exactly.
I mean, the team is not good. Like, honestly, like Gallo had a really bad year, and pretty much everybody on the offensive side had a bad year. Like, it was just not good. Maybe I think Ronald Guzman, and I think Isaiah kind of Falefa had like a good year, barely. But like, who could have gotten legitimate, really good prospects from a team like the Dodgers or the Braves, or
I think the Yankees would have traded for Lance Lynn.
Yeah,
I think the Yankees would have gotten him back.
Yeah, or just any team like the Twins. Like the Twins, like could have gotten him back as well because they need pitching help, and that's part of why. I mean, I think mostly their offense was kind of quiet in that playoff series, but their end pitching ended up just choking it and not holding it together. And they could have used the Lance Lynn, which was even just crazier. But mainly, I think the Mariners could definitely be in that area where they're competing for the wild card next year, if even the playoffs, especially if the playoff format remains the same, which I don't know if they've
I hope it doesn't.
I hope it doesn't either, but
I liked the kind of free-for-all aspect of the playoffs, but I still think there needs to be like some level of exclusivity to making the playoffs. I saw no problem with the former format. I understand why it was changed this year because it had to have been, but I don't know if that's a long-term fix.
Yeah, I think this year with the way it was in a 60-game season, I think having a lot more teams be in the mix and in the running that may have not been in the mix in a full 162-game season was a lot more exciting. But when you only have 60 games, it only works for that. With over 162-game stretch, I mean, you just can't have that. I just don't think that works. Like, I don't know. I mean, who knows? We probably don't know anything. Like, we don't know if they what if they do it again, right? And
if I know anything, it's that Rob Manfred will do anything possible to ruin baseball. So just whatever decisions he makes, it will be with the league's worst interests at heart. So the last thing here with the Mariners, Ken Griffey Jr. and Ichiro have been God Squad members of the show teams. Obviously no Ichiro this year because they don't have the rights. Yeah. And I know Griffey wasn't necessarily your era of growing up as a fan. Griffey is my favorite baseball player of all time. The hat backwards comes from Ken Griffey Jr. That's why I do it.
Even as a Yankees fan?
Even as a Yankees fan. Even though Ken Griffey Jr. hated the Yankees and wouldn't play for them, I just loved the way he played the game. I was a center fielder, so I love the way he just went about his business. And he just had that – I hate using the word swag because it seems like it's a cop-out kind of word, but he really did. He played with that type of just mentality, like I'm the best player on the field and I know it. And I love that. So they're all-time team Mariners guys when it comes to MLB The Show. Which all-time guys have we not gotten ever in MLB The Show for the Mariners that you'd like to see? Like I know we could talk about, obviously, Edgar Martinez is there. He's on the all-time team. Somehow Jay Buhner is in the game and makes the all-time team. Felix Hernandez is here. The Mariners, as not great as they are, have a pretty rich history of players. So I'm sure we're missing someone.
I mean, you'd have to find the fine line of they actually were really good for the team, and then they just played for them. Like in 2000, we had Ricky Henderson play, I think, 40 games for us or something like that. 41 games, and hey, he's on the team.
I think what will be fun, is similar to an Adam Dunn card, like a Richie Sexton card, with just maxed out power and no fielding or contact would be so much fun to use in BR.
Definitely. I mean, the big ones we don't have are obviously Randy Johnson,
Yep.
Alex Rodriguez, and Adrian Beltre. I think would be the big three. Because, dude, man, that makes me sad thinking about it. Adrian Beltre. We signed Adrian Beltre after 2004. His monster 2004 year where he had like 47 homers with the Dodgers or something
He
like
was
that.
he was an animal that year. Yeah.
48 homers with the Dodgers, and then we saw like it was one of the biggest free agent signings we've ever had in our history, and we signed him for 5 years, and he puts up OPS numbers of 716, 792, 802, 784, and 683.
Which is wild because at the theoretical prime of his career, he's arguably the worst he ever was, and that's relative speaking. He was still a passable, more than passable player, but then he goes to Texas and is like this legendary third baseman.
Yeah, and then he signed.
And the Red Sox, he did a year too, I think.
Yeah, he signed with the Red Sox after 2009, and in 2010, like his OPS went up about 220
Wild.
points. He had a 919 OPS with 49 doubles and 28 homers.
I would love an Adrian Beltre card because I feel like
he'd be so fun to use.
I feel like there still aren't enough third basemen in this game. I'm a George Brett stan. George Brett is my third baseman for the rest of the year. I'm not moving him off the position. I love him. I understand Chipper Jones is probably the best guy now. Maybe Josh Donaldson. I don't have the stubs or the BR skill for either of them. So George Brett's my dude, but I still think Beltre would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Beltre would be fun. Like it's been, I really don't truly understand. I don't think any of us who have had affiliation with SDS and whether it be partners or in the CCL or not, really know how they go about getting legends rights and whatnot. I mean, I think most, if you really think about it, you can get a decent understanding of like how they do it. Like they go out, talk to the people who own the rights, maybe, or the family if they're deceased, who they own the rights, or this maybe themselves, like, and try to buy the rights. And obviously, it's probably way more complicated than that. Just like a basic explanation of it. Wait, what was I going to go with that?
No, you were saying how they get the rights. No, yeah.
No. I remember. Okay, because I was talking about Adrian Beltre.
Oh, yeah,
I don't remember how long they usually wait to like try to. I don't know if they go after like rights immediately after people retire, or if they wait like a couple years. Because I know most people usually come back into the game if they're like come back really fast, like 2 to 3 years after they retire. And that would be around the same time, Beltre's been retired. Like we lost a lot of people in 18. Beltre, Mauer, and Utley, I think, are the notable ones I can think of off the top of my head.
I think. Well, when was A-Rod lost? 17 or 16?
He retired in 16, so
he wasn't in 17 then. Yeah.
No, yeah.
And I'm still waiting on Jeter. Just as a Yankees guy, he probably won't even be a good end game player because he has no power and can't field. But just as a Yankee guy, I want to use Derek Jeter.
No, I totally get that. I feel like guys like that and more mainstream guys, like don't get me wrong, like Mickey Mantle and Babe Ruth are really exciting. Have been really insane additions to add over the past couple of years, and Willie Mays. But like a guy like Derek Jeter, I feel like would just sell way more copies because. Especially if you make him like a big announcement prior to the game coming out. And we are honestly around like a week or two.
I know it's close, man. It's really close. I think it was October 20 something last year we got the Baez reveal.
Yeah.
You know who else would be a really fun card that I would never let out of my lineup? Alfonso Soriano. I don't care what he's rated.
Yeah,
he's one of my favorite players of all time. Even though he's really not amazing, he'd be so much fun to play with.
Yeah, if we got that 1 year where he had the 40-40 season.
Yeah. Also, if we got like a signature series of him or something like that, or a prime card, it would be wild.
Yeah, he'd be fast. He'd have power. Like
the worst fielder in the game, though, hands down to be the worst fielder in the game. That's fine.
Don't worry about it.
You hide him at second base or left field, and that's that.
Just hit dingers. It's all right.
Yeah.
But I was trying to say with the Derek Jeter thing, like with the show potentially going to cross-platform. Well, not cross-platform, but like multi-platform is the word.
Yeah.
and next year at the earliest, because I think a lot of people also like misinterpret that, like the whole announcement to be like, oh my god, it's going to be on Xbox next year, like 100%. Um, the whole announcement was basically like getting rid of the exclusivity of it
Hmm.
going like just PlayStation. Like they may like for the first year of the PS5, they may just keep it to PlayStation. We don't really know yet until that first trailer comes out of like when at the end it'll say like the game
What
console being
systems it'll be on? Yeah.
on the bottom and whatnot. But I hope it's on Xbox. But I think people just got to remember that they never really like said that like is going to be on Xbox. But
Hmm.
my whole point with that is whenever it does go on Xbox and maybe the Switch as well, which would be really cool. Like, imagine playing the show
Really
on the
cool.
go.
Yeah.
That'd be so cool. Or like doing like missions on the go, like moments, like if you write school, like doing content.
Yeah. So you can rage in public. Yeah.
Yes, 100%. uh, but with that happening, the revenue for different departments are probably going to skyrocket. So
More
they
money to
may
buy more
have
rights. Yeah.
Yeah, so they may get more and more legends each year. Like I think they had 30 this year into the game, around 30. I could imagine it being doubled or tripled by a year or two of it being on different platforms. And well, obviously it's gonna be hard to find new legends every year, but
Hmm.
to make it super exciting. But I think a guy like Jeter and Aaron and like Hank Aaron and whatnot could definitely be possible within the next like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. And I think Yayo's big on the Roberto Clemente train, and
Yeah, Clemente.
I think he's a cover possibility next year. Even the one-off guys like Rob Dibble's not necessarily a legend, but he had a couple good years, and look at the card he has. So even players
Hmm.
like that are kind of off the beaten path would work really well.
Exactly. And Dibble's
Um,
just amazing.
he is. I can't hit him, but I can't hit many guys, so that's fine. All right, so Serenity, we went a little bit long here, but I mean, this conversation was awesome, man.
Oh yeah, for
I
sure.
hope you enjoyed it. I really appreciate you coming on. Just before I let you go, where can the people find you? I'm sure most of them already have found you, but if they haven't, where can they find you?
Well, you can find me on twitch.tv/hi. I'm Serenity. It's not him, as many people think. You can also find me on Twitter on that same link and on the Instagram at Hi, I'm Serenity. And YouTube, I believe there's a hyperlink for it, other than like all the random gibberish numbers. I believe it's youtube.com/serenityYT. That should be able to take you to my YouTube channel, which I'm super inconsistent on, but I'm working on it. Okay, I'm working on it. School's a biatch. uh,
uh,
Go ahead.
what were you going to say? It's fine.
No. I was just gonna laugh.
um, and guys, update from me before we sign off. I've finally set up a nice big desk area here, as you might be able to see on YouTube. Please ignore the hole I put in the wall back there. I'm going to cover that like it never happened pretty soon. But this corner will be my podcast game corner. I've only ever posted interview podcasts on YouTube, hoping to turn every episode into a YouTube video down the line. Not starting next week. I still don't have any of the capture cards or stuff I need, but that's the long-term plan for the channel and for the show. So we're trying to grow. I still have fun doing this just really for myself, talking to guys like Serenity. But I appreciate everyone supporting. Follow
Hit the
me on
like button.
Twitter. You hit that like
Follow.
button. Subscribe if you
Follow.
guys are new. At the show, the pod, where we are on Twitter. We have a Patreon if you guys want to become a patron, support the boy, help me pay for posters to cover the hole in my wall. So that's it. Episode 13 in the books. Serenity, thank you again, man. I will
Thank you.
talk to everybody next week.